Now let's see what surprises we have waiting for us over here. I know this motor was gone. When they came in, the previous segment where it showed me testing this motor out, that was, it's November now. That was, I don't know, probably May, something like that. But I know this motor, oh, missed one. I know this motor was in real bad shape. What you're witnessing here is probably one of the worst case scenarios. Again, we have another broken ring here. The top of this piston, all torn up from a broken ring. Now, a lot of times, sometimes you can have that. If you got water intrusion into the motor, well, you'll have several rings fail at one time. Mostly, it's just one ring will fail, and you'll know it. But in this particular instance, this guy may have reused these pistons, because this one looks like it was possibly reused after it had a ring failure. Why would you do that? No idea. There's just way too much work involved to do things halfway when it comes to something like this, and something as important as, you know, getting your family back safely. I can't for the life of me understand why someone would let $100 per piston get in the way of him and his family and his guests, who are ultimately his safety, it's his responsibility, get in their way. But people do it, you know. People like to do things halfway. So there we go. Our heads are off. It's balancing tube. I'll take that off right now. Well, this is water. This is a water tube, and when water comes up to the top here, it vents the top of the block. Water comes up to the top of here, it's got nowhere else to go. It comes out this and it goes back down into the exhausting water portion of the block. Put that over there. Okay. Now that we have this block completely stripped, we have one thing we got to do first, is remove the taper pin. Some crossbows have 2 taper pins, some 90 degrees, have 2 taper pins. The newer, the E-Techs do, and some of the DIs have 2 taper pins. This particular engine has 1 taper pin up here, and what this taper pin does is, when they manufacture this block, they drill a hole in there. Then they slice this block in half. When you go to reassemble this, you get all your screws in there finger tight. You drive this pin in, and it's called a taper pin for a reason, because it tapers. It, you know, starts fat at the top, gets skinny at the bottom. When you drive that taper pin in, it perfectly aligns both of these sides of the block, and makes the mate a perfect mate to it. You cannot use a cap off another block, and you can't mix match this stuff. This is all made in one piece. They manufacture this thing, they drill these holes, they saw it in half, perfect mate. You can't mix match it. People have done it, not us. So, we're going to get us a chisel, we're going to pop that pin in. Roll pin punch. Ball peen hammer. This thing usually will fly, so I'm going to shoot it into the wall there. There we go. That is our taper pin. Okay. Back. Man. I think that one's seen its last day. Okay, now that our taper pin's out, we'll start a new bag here. These parts on the intake, I never really worry about having salt in them, because they are in the, you know, in the intake, or in the case. These very rarely get salted in. So, as always, It's gonna crack them all loose. Oop, wrong socket. Okay, crack, crack. On down the line here.
Hold on to that until I repair that engine, okay?
Okay. There are two that go on the bottom down here that aren't in there. Like I said, someone else built this motor before, and you see how good of a job they did. Yay, you did a great job. It's all blown up, and you basically just wasted your money. Okay. All those guys into the bag. A lot of times, these screws down here will be in pretty bad shape. Looks like we got one of them in bad shape. The rest of them don't look too bad. So we're going to I'm going to break back out the heavy artillery on this. Our starboard balancing tube ties into this little, I believe it's a check valve down here. We'll remove that. That way we can gain access to our screw with the 1/2-inch drive socket. A little O-ring on that guy too. There's another one. I'll just pop that screw back in there. There we go. And we'll cross our fingers. Yes. I've got this thing in very low gear too, or the lowest, the lowest torque setting. That way, it's not going to break a bolt off in there.